Hey there, welcome to the Neil Christian Show. If you are new to the channel, I am Neil Christian and I do a talk show. I love to talk, so I'll just start off by saying that I got bored today and I emailed, texted a few friends and said, hey, send me some questions that you have always wanted to ask me that you didn't get to ask me, or questions that people that are tuning into my channel would want to know about me that they may not know, right? And I didn't see any of these questions, didn't rehearse anything, so I'm just answering them how I got them in the text messages. So if you're new to this, Neil Christian here. I'm a Taurus. I am married, live in New Jersey. I have 3 cats, originally from Brooklyn. And let me not answer any more questions because they might be in here, right? So let's go to them, right? Okay, so what's my background? It doesn't say background in like work or background in just like my personal. But like I said, I'm from Brooklyn. Immigrant parents, first generation. My mother is Trinidadian. My father is Jamaican British. There is a difference. Jamaicans don't come for me, but my dad was. He's from England. Uh, Fashion inspirations and icons. My fashion inspiration has always been Andre Leon Talley, other than the women that I grew up around, because if you grew up around Caribbean Black women, you would know that there's a style that's there that's not really noticeable, but it is noticeable. I shouldn't say noticeable because it is very noticeable. It was even clocked by a lot of fashion designers in the early 90s and they dragged it. So, yes, that's one of my fashion inspirations, always been Andre Leon Talley, because he broke down the barriers of Black men in an industry that's usually filled with white women. And yeah, Andre Leon Talley, I miss him very much. And I never got a chance to actually meet him. So that was actually really sad. I loved Andre Leon Talley. Life and career goals for the next 3 to 5 years. Life goal, I want to be a dad. I'm 40 in a few months. So I would want to work on being a father because I am in a same sex relationship. So there's no uteruses in our relationship. So we have to now think of other ways. Adoption is really important, and or surrogacy. But surrogacy is very expensive. So I think I've already checked that one out of the list. So I don't know that I want to do that. Career wise, I own a section or a band, a carnival band. It's called Camboulay, and I want to see that grow really big. This year we did St. Kitts, we're doing Atlanta, Miami, Notting Hill. So I want to do maybe like 3 or 4 more carnivals a year and just see that brand, the Camboulay brand, blow up in the next 3 to 5 years, so to speak. Shout out to Savage in Miami and UCOM in Notting Hill. My favorite jobs. Well, I've been in retail 22 years this year, fashion retail and luxury fashion retail, I should say, because retail is broad. But I've been in luxury fashion retail for 22 years. My favorite job was Barney's. I loved Barney's, and if you were around the era of like a Barney's, you get it. You know exactly what I'm talking about. There was a magic in that place that can't be described unless you actually experience it yourself. The designers, the curation of the brands that they carry, the visual merchandising, the quirkiness behind the actual store, and the story of the brand actually was one of my very favorite places to work. And a little secret that I don't think a lot of people know about me is right before they closed, I was offered a job as a director of personal shopping. And I still have my offer letter to this day. And I didn't take it because I had an insight that they were definitely going to close, which was sad. Because why would you offer me a job when you know that the store was going to close? So sad. What are some things you took away from your last job in a good or bad way? So my last job, I was the director for Chanel at Bergdorf Goodman. What did I take away from that? I took away the good was that I had a chance to meet and sort of have like a relationship, so to speak, with Oprah Winfrey because we ran into each other 3 times after our initial first meeting. And she remembered my name. She remembered my birthday, most importantly. And she was just a really, really nice person. She's always been an idol of mine. But when we did meet, she told me it was the day before my 37th or 38th birthday. And she told me it's just beginning for you, and that's set by you, and it's in the biography of my Instagram. So meeting Oprah. Bad was the management at that place. Not the Chanel side, but the Bergdorf Goodman side didn't have the best management. And we sort of like bumped heads because I was too good at my job. And we'll leave that there. My favorite moments in fashion. Was it personal? Was it personal or like fashion overall? If it's not personal, I'd say my favorite moments in fashion is when Tom Ford simultaneously was the creative director for Yves Saint Laurent and Gucci at the same time. Those of you that know that was a time to be alive. My prom shoes from my senior prom in high school were Gucci. And I would never forget the day that I purchased those. They were at the 53rd Street Gucci store on Fifth Avenue. The guy that sold it to me name was Nate or Nat. And loved Tom Ford through and through. And John Galliano at Christian Dior. And anything that Karl Lagerfeld did. Where did you and JB meet? For those of you that don't know, JB is my husband. We met at a club called Lexicon back in 2017. But the original sighting of us, which I'll do on an episode when he sits in with me because he hates this story, but he hates to hear me tell the story because he believes it to be different. But I have my own story. But we did meet 2017 in a club, Lexicon. It was First Friday. Shout out to Joe Morris and First Friday parties. You say you work in luxury retail, but where did you start? My very first job was Bloomingdale's 59th Street, and I was a sales associate on the second floor. And the only reason why that was my first job was because in college we had this thing called the Work Project, and we had to choose a place to work. And I chose Bloomingdale's, and we had to write a 10-page paper on our experience there. And that was my introduction to retail. I think at that time, around 2003, I think Bloomingdale's is still considered luxury. They have a lot of big names in Bloomingdale's, but I was on the Young East Sider floor, which was Theory, D&G, Juicy Couture. Who else was on that floor? Who else? Ella Moss, Rebecca Taylor had just started out. So the denim section, the T-zones. So the young contemporary girls was that floor. It's a lot of questions, so I'm kind of like wanting to get through all of them because you guys might want to know these questions, right? Or the answer to these questions. What were you doing before retail? Nothing. I was a student. I fell right into retail. It was my very first job. I always was in retail and I got in there. I saw the money being easy. My degree is in marketing, so it was easy for me to just sell anything. And I worked my way up. I know that I didn't want to sell for long, but I did like the relationships that I got with people that were walking in the store, so to speak, or the clients. So yeah, and it was a different time back in 2003 versus what it is right now. So I'm happy that I made the decision not to sell and to like go into management. Your most coveted fashion piece in your closet now, or your closet pre-tragedy, your grail item. My favorite item in my closet right now would be my Kelly. I have a Kelly. I think it's a 40. It's the men's Kelly. It's a big one with a big handle, and that happens to be my favorite right now. Before was my Saint Laurent Johnny boots by Tom Ford. I had 14 pairs of those boots. I had the wingtips. I had snake skin. I had croc skin. I had the embossed. I had leopard print, regular leather, black leather, box leather. It was a thing with me. And it was like a Cuban heel boot. And I loved my Johnny boot. So I'll never get those back. But I had them at a time where so many people wanted them and they couldn't get them themselves, right? That was my favorite. Where did your love from fashion come from? Watching my mom and her sisters. My mother and her sisters owned a fashion boutique that was next to a record store that my dad owned, or still is at to this day. Back in the 80s and 90s, it was called. What was the name of the boutique? I don't remember the name of the boutique, but John's Discount is the record store, and that's where my love of fashion and even fragrance came from because my mom used to wear Revlon Charlie. And I remember the smell of Revlon Charlie like to this day. And that's like 30 something years now that I can go that far back. But that's where my love of fashion came from. For myself, where I started to fall into luxury fashion is when I started to flip through the pages of Vanity Fair, because in the beginning I was never really a Vogue guy. I always loved Vanity Fair more than I loved Vogue because Vanity Fair actually had words in it. And Vogue was like more pictures, and I wanted to know the stories behind the fashion stories. But I did fall in love with Vogue eventually, and V magazine was one of my favorites because it was just big and like out of the way, and it was just like this big magazine. Next question was, what are some good fashion investment pieces versus stuff where that you wear every day? I always say that invest in good shoes and handbags. I don't believe this whole thing where people saying like, oh, the Birkin and the Kelly bags are investment and all of that, because everybody has them now and they're literally on every shelf of a secondhand store. So I don't know about the investment in that. We'll see. But the market flips so much. And even in the economy that we're in right now, try to go and sell a Birkin or a Kelly bag because there's 500 on the Fashion File website and another 3,000 on the Real Real. So I don't think of them like as like investment pieces. I think you invest in what you like. And I like a good shoe. So I would always invest in good shoes because you stand on your feet all day and I don't like feet pain, so my feet have to like be comfortable. But I do love to look down and see a nice pair of shoes. Uh, would you ever become a stylist or an artistic director with all of my expertise? No, I don't think that I would want to be an artistic director, maybe, but a stylist, really no, because I think that when you are a stylist, and this is the only how I would become a stylist if I could be the type of stylist that Laura Roach is to Zendaya, where you have a client that believes and trusts in you so much that they would literally wear whatever you allow them to, or you tell them that this is what you need to be in, just to start a buzz and to keep that buzz going around your name. And I think the partnership between those two, flawless. But would I ever become a stylist or want to be? No, it's never been my thing. What makes a good outfit or versus a try again? I would say your accessories. Try again as if you're not comfortable in an outfit. You always have to feel comfortable and confident. If you feel comfortable and confident, you don't need to try again. That's the one you walk out the house in. But like Coco Chanel said, when you walk before you walk out the door, take one piece off. And I've always done that. It's never really like a big piece, but I've always taken a piece off of an outfit before I left the door. How do you become so successful in the fashion industry when it's so limited to Black people? I wouldn't say that I'm like really that successful. I think I could be more successful, and that part plays a part with when it's being so limited for Black people. Um, the roles are still very limited, and when you're in those rooms, you have to try to stay in those rooms and make friends. Make friends, get people on your side, because when you don't, it's very easy for them to just be banished, for you to be banished away in a way where nothing that you have done would even matter, because they'll do something to get you out. It's still a dog eat dog world. It's still very colorist. It's still a lot of racism. My last job, I heard, like, one of the ladies that was there told the manager that the only reason why I got the job was because I was Black. So I was a DEI hire before Trump made it a thing. Look at that. And they tried to tell me that it was otherwise. Like, no, that's not what we think of you, and yada yada yada. Bullshit, right? Go figure. If you know, you know. But I'll just leave it there. How did Neil break down those walls, and what advice would you give to someone who wants to be where you are? Well, where I am right at this moment is unemployed. So that happens. It happens to the best of us. I've seen people get laid off that's been in roles 15, 20 years for really great companies. Look at what our government's going through right now. People that's been in government for all these years and they're getting laid off left and right. So but if like you want to talk about my last role and me being successful, there's just really working hard and making a name for yourself and always going for what people tell you that you can't do or what you shouldn't be doing. If you feel that it's right, I say do it and then go back to them and say, well, look what I've done. So, hmm. What is Neil's skincare routine? Too much to list, but I do always wash my face. I exfoliate. I use serum and I use a really, really rich moisturizer because my skin gets really dry. And I also use a mist. What do you call this thing? A moisturizing or a glowing mist. I think I did a video on it and it's on one of my videos. But yeah, it's multi-step, but always exfoliate your skin because of dead skin that's left on your skin, that oil buildup and stuff like that. Where, when, how did you find what what we know today to be your fashion sense and or aesthetic? So if when people ask me what my fashion sense is, I would always say that my fashion sense is simplicity personified. I do love simple things. I love a set. I do like when things match. I would consider myself a minimalist, but there's sometimes where you got to pop out and show a person. I would say the real line, but those are those moments. But I do like when people, the quiet luxury before quiet luxury was a thing. I always like black. I wear a lot of black. I do wear bright colors, but it always is either a set or a suit or something like that. But I do like it to be like muted, if that makes sense. As I sit here in like a pink sweater. Um, what is freedom to Neil Christian? I hate to repeat this, but it was a video with Nina Simone when they asked her what it is, and freedom is no fear, not having a fear of anything. And I haven't really mastered what my freedom is yet because I still get caught in my fear of failing, fear of people not liking. And I know that sounds crazy because I really don't care what people say about me, but I'm an artist and I'm sensitive about my shit. So fear, living in no fear, and it's really hard as a black gay man to live with no fear. I'm getting there and the world is slowly changing, but freedom is believing that there is no failure right now. That's what I would say my freedom is. Did you face any struggles or setbacks while pursuing your fat passions, and how did you overcome them? Yes, yes, and yes. And you never really overcome them. You just like get over it because where one thing is a struggle or a setback, you're gonna get it. It's gonna happen again, and it's gonna happen again, and it's gonna happen again. So it's just mastering your craft so that when that next struggle or setback comes, you're already set up for it and you can face it head on. It's always going to be a struggle because there's always going to be a person that stands in the way of you and what your end goal is. And let me tell you one thing, being a black, dark skinned male in the industry of fashion, it's really difficult because you can stand there, you can walk in the room and say nothing, and automatically people are intimidated. And that's what I dealt with my entire career. I don't have to say a lot. The way I presented myself and the way I dressed and spoke already intimidated a lot of people. So when I was given roles and I started to insert my leadership or what my management skills are, it's all like, oh my god, he's so intimidating, he's intimidating. But I'm not. It's just that if I was a white woman or someone else, would it still be intimidating? But it's because it's coming from a black man that happens to be gay. People, and I'm 6'2", and I wear a suit and like I present myself in this way that it makes people intimidated. And I never understood how I can change that. And I don't know that I ever wanted to change that because I look in the mirror and I see me and I'm happy with what I see. And like, so yeah. Oh my God, these are some good questions. I almost think I should like save some of these, but we're almost through it. Was there ever a time where you doubted your path? Yes. And that's when you are in rooms where not too many people look like you. And I hated a lot of the times being the token because you don't have anyone that it's like no one's relatable to you when it comes to the struggle. And yeah, being in those rooms were very, very, very difficult and like it doubted me thinking that I could be bigger than what I was in those moments because I looked around the room and there was no one else like me. And a lot of the times it was like, yep, this is exactly, and you can tell by how people present themselves to you, how they look at you, the things that you have to really be very cautious and pay very close attention to what people say because people tell on themselves all the time. And when they joke and make fun about things about you, really listen to them because they're telling you exactly how they feel about you. And I've learned that time and time and time and time again. Do you think personal style is something that brings people together in friendships? Yes and no, because yeah, I think for some people, your fashion sense will make you closer to other people, but I have fashion sense like that are different than a lot of the people that I'm around, and none of my friends are two of the same people or dress the same or have the same style, and that's what makes a good friend group because you can take a picture and then everybody looks different. You never want to be in a room or in a group of friends where everybody's like the Mean Girls, like we wear pink on Wednesday sort of thing. But if you wear pink, one is wearing hot pink, the other one's wearing mauve, and someone's wearing like a soft pink, that would be a thing. But you know, like all of my friends have different style, and I think that's what makes a really good like mix of the people that you have around you. Who has been your biggest supporter? Esther Williams, that's my mother. I speak to my mother every day, multiple times a day, and my mother tells me constantly how proud she is of me and what I've done and where I've become. And when her friends from Trinidad call her and say that they saw me on a picture or someone's Instagram or on the TV, like some things that like on, even if it's on Facebook, I saw your son's video on Facebook and she like that's the light of her life, and she's my biggest supporter, always have been, but like she's my mom so she will be. But my friends, my sister is a huge support system of mine. My really close friends are huge support of mine. When I say that, hey, I send a text out and say, hey, we're doing gay night, and they show up, they don't know, I don't think I've ever told them how much their presence in those moments actually mean to me. But like, you know, people that show up time and time and time again that you could just sit around and do nothing about. And Tanika, perfect example. We could sit for hours and just eat and do nothing and watch TV and just not even talk for some moments. Could be like an hour go by, we don't say each other, but like some of those are like the best moments. So shout out to Tanika Fox. Uh, Who or what has had the biggest impact on your fashion sense? Andre Leon Talley, Tom Ford. Um, I would say Dapper Dan, but I got into Dapper Dan much later because I'm from Brooklyn. We didn't really know him, but I did know his story. Um, who else? Who else? Jay-Z. I loved his style growing up. Diddy had like really great style, or still has. Like he's a really well dressed man no matter what he's going through, which I think is really, really crazy, but here we are. If you could give your younger self one piece of style advice, what would it be? Take more risk. How do you balance following trends while staying true to your personal style? Just don't follow trends. Yeah, my style is very, very minimal, and like I said, I wear some things that are not minimal, but I don't really follow trends. What's one fashion rule you think is outdated and should be broken? I don't know. I don't really know because I don't really follow fashion rules. You know what? White shoes after Labor Day, but I think people break that anyway. So, and wearing Nike sneakers and Adidas pants, I think that that should be thrown away because some people like Adidas tracksuits but don't like Adidas sneakers, like me. But I don't have either. So there you have it. What's your go-to outfit when you need to feel powerful and confident? Black trousers, a black turtleneck, black double-breasted jacket, or a black cardigan? Do you remember the first outfit that made you feel truly confident? Well, the very first outfit that I know that made me feel truly, truly confident was my, and if you got it this far in the video, you're gonna laugh because if you were at Fashion Industries High School in 1999, you would remember a young Neil Christian walking through the hallways of fashion industry with a red denim Karl Kanai uh, like set. It was a jeans, denim jacket, and a fitted cap or like a hat. And I remember that would being the first day of high school, and I was going to fashion industries. So I know I had to set the tone of what people were going to remember me as, or how they were going to remember me. And that was my I wish social media was a thing then, because I remember that outfit. And a lot of people that know me, excuse me, or that are my friends still from high school, remember that outfit. That was my very first outfit that made me feel completely confident because I had to. It was like the armor you were going into a school where I knew no one. And yeah, I remember that day. Do you remember the first way I did that? How was your personal style? How has your personal style evolved over the years? It's just gotten more expensive. You know, when you get adult money and you start to see things, and when you were younger, you're like, I would never spend that on that. And now you look like it just got more expensive. So my personal style has been like the same. I always like sets and, like putting things with sets or whatever, but it just got more expensive as I got older. And it's gotten a little bit more clean, streamlined. And I said to JB the other day, I need to start dressing my age. And he's like, what do you mean? And I was just like, I just need to start dressing my age. uh, what's one piece of clothing that holds a deep personal meaning for you? Um, I don't have it anymore. But oh my god, why? The only thing, yeah, I don't have it anymore. I no longer have it. And I'm going to leave it at that. If you could style any person in the world, who would it be and what would you dress them in? If I could style any person in the world, who would it be and what would I dress them in? I would do my mom because I remember my mother like as a child growing up, and she would always be dressed. My mother would dress her ass off. But after she had her children and she became a mother and a grandmother and she started to get older, like she just everything about what she did was all about us. And I think that along the way she forgot about herself. So I would go and get my mom one of the most expensive outfits and the most expensive handbag and get her hair and makeup done and do a photo shoot with her just to make her feel as special as she used to feel, or just to get her to the places what I remembered how she used to dress as a kid. My mother just like, even like when we were doing like proms and all, I would always say like, mommy, go put something on. And she would just have on like a t-shirt and some leggings. um what are your inspirations in life? My inspirations, I felt like Beyonce in the Pretty Hurts. Pretty inspiration. Uh a sunny day, a nice scent. Um yeah, that's all I could think of. Another question was, where would you be if you had not followed your dreams? I have no idea. I probably would be working at, I don't know. I've always wanted to be a lawyer. I always wanted to be a cowboy. So I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know the answer to that one. What's the best decision that you ever made in life? The best decision that I ever made in life was to say fuck everything that anybody said about me and just waking up every day as myself. I think is the best decision because there's so many people that don't get to live to be their true authentic self, and I have an opportunity to be my true authentic self, to be with someone that loves the true authentic me and allows me to be me, or I shouldn't even say allow, that does not judge me for being me every day. Best decision to marry him and to live truly and authentically myself. If you could change one thing about the world, what would it be? Racism, because I think it's stupid. If you could contribute one thing to the world being better, what would it be? Uh, the diversity between Black people, and I mean Black Americans versus the diaspora wars. Black people in the world versus Black Americans. It's the dumbest thing that you've ever heard, but it's also something that's truly embedded in people that are not Black American, that don't live here or don't experience the culture of what Black American is. And I had the opportunity to grow up in a Black Caribbean household in Black America while having Black Americans all around me. So if you don't have that and you don't get to see the coin on both sides, I think you're kind of doomed. And because my dad was also British, there was a little bit of that in there. And I also had a chance to visit and live in London to see how British Black people saw American and also Caribbean Black people see Americans. And it's really, really sad. And if you go on any TikTok, you'll see that it's still going on today. And I think it's the dumbest thing ever. What is the most important characteristic you look for in a person to be in your inner circle? Mm, honesty. Honesty. You got to be honest. And if you're not true to yourself, you can't be true to other people. So the moment that I see that someone's not honest, I don't think you can be in my friends group. Or people that don't support the other people in your group, or people that watch, and when people use the word jealous and they say, I'm jealous of you, believe them, because you can't be friends with someone that's jealous or inserts jealousy in anything that you do. And I get that from Oprah Winfrey and Gail. So you have to find friends that are truly uh, happy for everything that you do, that root you on. Like all of my friends that took the time to send me these questions. Thank you to Crystal and Crystal Harrison and Crystal Lee Figueroa and Keisha and my sister Denisha and Marcia. And I think those were the ones that I got through. I don't know whose questions were who because I just copied them and I just put them in this note so that I can do this. But I hope you guys enjoyed that and you learned a little bit more about me as this show grows and progresses and becomes a bigger and better show, and I start to have guests and people to talk with me. Those are just how many of the questions that I answered so that you get to know who Neil Christian is and why this guy keeps popping up on your timeline. But while I have you here, I want you to actually subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Neil Christian Show. If you follow me on Instagram, All Things Neil Christian. It's the same on TikTok, All Things Neil Christian. And we are going to do the Neil Christian Show on Apple iTunes. I've already had that in place and I just have to use it now. So I just want to have a show with my first guest. What would I do with my first guest? I don't know how long this actually is, but it looks about 33 minutes. So I'm going to let you guys go because I've been talking for a while and I don't even know my water's here. So I love you guys for watching. If you made it to the end, good for you. Give me a like, share it to your friends, make Neil Christian the big thing because I can't do this without you. And I appreciate you guys so much for taking the time to listen to me talk. I love y'all. Peace.